You're like a little grandma with her Afghan. Yeah, I'll work on it.
Just for these occasions. I need ones that like match my skirts.
Yes.
That'd
I'll
be
make
so
you a
funny.
denim Afghan.
Crazy. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Hi, besties. I'm Faith OK.
And I'm Aisha the girl.
And this is OK, girl.
Welcome back.
Yay.
We're here.
I think this is like episode 17.
I think that's right.
It's
17.
hard. I lose track.
I know.
We've
We
done
were
a
saying
lot.
that we did have that 2-week gap, and I think it threw off everything. But it's
It
okay.
really did. We were sitting like preparing for this episode literally today because I forgot everything
It's
this
fine.
week.
Yeah, it's fine.
But then we're sitting there and Aisha was like, I didn't even post that we made an episode last week. And I was like, me neither.
It's
So,
fine.
It's okay. You guys still found us.
It's true.
That video has like almost 50 views. So
That's bestie vibes right there.
love you guys.
I love that.
Shout out. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate you guys listening to us yap all the time.
Oh my gosh.
So we recorded last week.
Yeah,
so
we
we're
did.
kind of back.
We're back
But what
into it.
what have I missed this week for
Let's
you?
see. So Luke and I had our Kiko's anatomy scan a month ago, and it was all very good. She's doing great. There was like a little thing that they were like questioning whether or not nothing detrimental or whatever, but just something that we had to like follow up on with like a specialist. So we had that scan on Thursday, and it's all good news, all great news. But Luke was so stressed out because let me tell you, the like thing they were like looking for in the scan was like on her face, and Kiko, first of all, of course, was like hiding her face completely from
No paparazzi.
no paparazzi for her. I told Luke, I was like, she's just like you, she's your daughter, because Luke like never wants to be in pictures. Yeah, a little shy. And so it was like it was supposed to be a 2-hour process, and granted the scan itself was not 2 hours long, which I was grateful for, but it was longer, and it was even longer because we were like spending that whole time. I felt like a cow a little bit because you're like, turn on your side, and just like pushing me with this like wand.
No.
and that like to the point where I was like, are we supposed to be shoving it that like aggressively? That's
you
crazy.
hurting her?
Yeah. Is she fine? And then they turned me to the other side, and eventually, of course, like she showed her face the correct way, but like the way that those scans work, the technicians like aren't able to tell you, or they're not allowed to tell you like anything. Like they can say like what they're looking at, but they can't give any like quality
it's
like
statements because they're not the doctors,
right?
essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she like didn't say anything, but it's like this weird thing, like everyone knows why we're there for like a specific reason. It's not our normal doctor. We like got referred here. So then she's like, okay, go wait in this waiting room, and it's just like this small room with like a table and 2 chairs and like a desk, not an office, but just like a little like space. And so we're waiting there for a while, and then the doctor comes in and is like, actually come to my office. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we like go to his office and we sit down, and he he says, I know why you're here, but do you know why you're here? So
Welcome to therapy. Surprise.
So I proceeded like explain what my understanding of this like appointment was, and he was like, yup, yeah, so we're happy to say that like everything's fine. And then he like walked into like, after that point, like he was just like going into detail like why we should be reassured that everything's fine. But afterwards, as soon as we got into the elevator to like head back to the parking garage, Luke was like, oh my gosh, that was the most drawn out process ever. Like I just couldn't, like, can someone just tell me like if like she's okay or not? But the only good thing, or I guess that in itself was a good thing that we like had peace of mind. But the side benefit was we got an extra photo shoot of Kiko. It was so cute, and they did like up close and personal, and it was like the first like time we did one of the like 4D like scans, so you're able to see what she's starting to look like. So I'm like already theorizing like
I can't wait
what
to see
like I think she might have
her.
Luke's brow and then my cheeks, so we'll see. My chin.
I'm so excited.
I know.
Oh, so cute.
So that's what's going on with me.
Nice. I'm trying to think of, man, this week has been a weird one because work wasn't like super busy, but then I feel like everything else was. Like every other part of my life. We got back in the gym regularly. Finally, I've been following like a pretty strict like regiment for the gym. It is hard, bro. It's hard. It's like this YouTube. She's like a physical. What is the
like a
what's the word?
Personal trainer?
Yeah, like like she's like a certified personal trainer and makes YouTube videos of like series.
Yeah,
and so I've been following that, and she's like ripped. And which I don't have expectations to be that. Yeah. But I was like, I just want to like get stronger and like, you know, take care of myself better. And so I've been doing it, and I'm like suffering. I did like a tricep workout, a shoulder tricep, and I did it at home because I didn't have time to go to the gym. And I was like laying in my living room floor like, what the heck is this? And like I would start to lift, and I was like, ugh. And I would like throw the weights down. And Jabba was just like across the room like staring.
You good?
Like, what's wrong with you? So I feel like every day a new part of my body is sore. Like muscles I didn't know I had are sore, which is great.
Discovering yourself.
I love that. Yeah. Other thing that happened, which was huge and exciting, and I can't wait, is that Louder Than Life dropped the lineup.
That's right.
And Nick and I, after last year's mud disaster,
that was a
happened,
lot of mud.
Oh, it was so bad because of Hurricane Helena. She wreaked havoc on us here in Kentucky. Did. And so it like ruined it, and I was like, the lineup wasn't really worth it either.
Right.
And so we just kind of were like, we're gonna wait and decide, but we probably won't go. And then they dropped the lineup. There's a stage where back to back to back.
I don't know if you can hear that, but that's just the robot vacuum. Keep checking the door.
She's getting a little senile, and she'd be running into stuff. But back to back to back, like some of my favorite bands, like pop punk Warped Tour era, and I'm like so excited.
That's amazing.
So I text Nick like this list of everybody. Evanescence is coming back because I didn't get to see them last time. Flyleaf is there,
dude. I low-key want to go just for like that day.
It's on Sunday.
That'd be so fun. When is dates again?
September like 19th through 21st.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Leave Hiko with a babysitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if Luke doesn't go, leave her with Luke.
That sounds...
Evanescence and
Flyleaf. I would
Flyleaf.
love to do that. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll talk.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're super excited. We immediately bought 4-day passes because I have no control. But like, man, like okay, I will say the headliners, no desire to see any of them, and which is like feels on brand for me. Yeah, like it's like Slayer.
She's different.
I'm quirky. I'm different. You wouldn't understand my music taste. I am just picky. Yeah, I think that's mostly what it is. And Louder Than Life tends to have a lot of like dad rock, and I'm picky in the way of like I don't like dad rock voices most of the time. Yeah.
No, I feel that.
And so it's like Slayer and Avenged Sevenfold and Deftones, which no desire. So I'm excited for the smaller bands that are playing, and so Knocked Loose is going to be there.
That's exciting.
I can't wait.
That'll be crazy.
Maybe I'll be ripped at that point, and I'll go crazy in the mosh pit.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That'd be amazing.
But yeah, so I'm excited for that. Now I'm just counting down the days until September.
Speaking of working out, actually, bonus. I mean, I guess just updates, not like really a real story. But we're making progress on upstairs, like building it out, which is nice. Like the structural engineer came and he was like, "This is good to go. I just need to like draft a plan to like have you guys reinforce the floor," which is exciting. So basically, the next step for that is he will draft that and give it to the contractor, and the contractor will implement that into his plan that he makes with Luke for how everything will look, which is amazing. And I think a side benefit to that though is I've been like very like low key right now with working out, of course. Because I tried doing Pilates, and baby girl did not like that. She was like, "You are squishing my home. Please stop."
It's like an earthquake in here, bro.
I'm mad.
Pilates is hard.
Pilates is hard. Oh my gosh.
I've never done it. Dude, don't plan to. Dude, it seems too hard.
It's not easy. But what made it even harder was I would work out in this room, and I think I've talked about this before, but this used to be a patio that has then been enclosed. But because of that, the floor slopes like this. And so you're just like, doing planks or on your back or whatever for a lot of it. And the fact that like I know I'm not evenly distributing weight like the way I'm supposed to, because I'm like, if I'm on my left side, I'm like working against gravity. If I'm on my right side or vice versa, I'm working with it. So I'm really excited because once everything gets moved up, I can actually like use the living room to like do at-home workouts and not feel like I'm like slowly falling the whole time. So that'll be nice.
I know, that's what I'm like excited to have a home gym soon.
Yes. Oh my god.
That's all I want. I just want to lift in the comfort of my home and not go to Planet Fitness ever again.
Where people are just like again. Ridiculous.
Sorry, we're really yapping.
That's great.
But I was at Planet Fitness the other day and I actually ran into our friend Eva there. Because we go to the same one, but she's been like back and forth between gyms, so like I didn't let her know, but we were there and she like walked up and she was like, oh hey. So we were like talking and then we go about our separate workouts. Nick and I finish up and we go to the locker room, wash our hands, and then we're coming out and we hear yelling and I don't mean like an argument, I mean a man just like okay. And I was like, oh my god. Hello? I'm like in the locker room still and I can hear it out in the gym. Right. So then I leave the locker room and I hear it again. Okay. And I'm like, Nick is like, I don't know, it's been going on for a minute. Like it's been happening for a second. And I'm like, okay. So then it just keeps, this man keeps yelling. And I look, there's a man on the treadmill running full force. Not, and I don't mean like sprinting. I just mean every step he takes is like boom, pounding boom. The treadmill. And he's wearing a weighted military vest.
No way.
Screaming.
Does he have like headphones in or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's wearing headphones and he's like, and he's like, oh, and like, just, my gosh. Yelling. And then he'd be like, whoa. It was crazy. And so then this poor worker, we're like leaving and the worker's like, hey, like shoulders sunk down, just like distraught that this is happening. And then he like doesn't do it for a second and the worker's like, okay, I think we're fine. And then he does it again and the guy's like a clipboard and he like drops it on the counter. He's like, I guess I'll go talk to him. And he like trudges over there and then we leave. Well, then I text Eva and I'm like, are you still at the gym? Like there's a man screaming. And she was like, yeah, the worker had to he was on the treadmill right behind Eva. And Eva was like, he just kept yelling and I didn't know what was happening. So the worker came up, told him to stop yelling. The lunk alarm was sounded. And then she said later he was like doing pull-ups on one of the bars as she was in the stretch area and he sprayed some like liquid chalk on his hand. Stop. And she was like, it smelled so bad. Oh my god. And he just kept spraying and rubbing his hands together and then getting on the pull-up bar. And I was like,
so extra.
Why are we so intense in the Planet Fitness?
I know.
This
Do you not know where you
gym.
are? Yeah.
It's a family gym. It's $10 a month, bro. $10 a month.
Go somewhere else.
Please.
I feel like at that point, like, just have your own home gym. I feel like if you've
got the military vest, you've got the chalk. What more do you need?
Right, exactly. A pull-up bar and a treadmill. Just get those things. That's your starter kit.
And then you can scream all you want.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna judge you.
No one's gonna come to you and say, "Hey, relax." Yeah.
It was crazy.
That's wild. Oh my gosh.
Planet Fitness. We love her. Yeah.
So good.
Any other updates from you?
I think that's it.
Slay.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna jump into our episode, which is seasonal depression, defrosting thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of it, because it's been cold.
It has
for
been cold.
So long.
Dude, it like I don't understand. Like this is the coldest winter that I've experienced here. And I mean obviously you've been here longer than me, but in the last almost 10 years I've been here.
So cold. It like I can't I was telling Nick, I was like, I don't know if I'm just older and feel the cold more or if it genuinely is colder.
I think
but like it's March and it's like 20 degrees outside.
I know. It's enough already. Okay.
Nick, what?
We're not in like the north. What's happening?
Yeah. I'm in like we're in the mid-south.
Yeah.
Mid-east south.
Beginning of the south.
Yeah. Like it should not be this cold.
Right.
And it should not be snowing still. It snowed in like northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like a few days ago. Like it's too much already. And I want to be freed of it. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of thinking we're trying to think of warmer things, but
we're manifesting.
But yeah, so we'll just talk generally seasonal depression because everybody, not everybody, but most people experience that. And then we'll talk about the things that we were cold to and have warmed up to.
Yes.
And that's the plan for today.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cold, there was one day Nick got really like, he was just like really feeling it. The seasonal depression, the existentialism. And he was like, will it ever be warm again?
Well, that reminds me of, I sent Eva and Faith a TikTok of someone like cracking up, being like, girl, I promise winter is almost over. Don't unalive yourself because you're not going to be able to go to brunch. I promise. It's almost done. Don't do it.
Yeah. Nick
that was kind of the inspiration for this episode.
Yeah. Nick was just really, he was like, will it ever not be cold? And I was like, I don't think so. I think this is our lives forever.
And it was like a tease too, because this week was really nice. And then as it got closer to the weekend, I was like, what's happening
It
here?
was like 60 degrees on like Tuesday or Wednesday. And I was like, this is what happiness feels like. And then the next day it was like 30. And I was like,
never mind. We're almost there.
It's so bad. And I just feel like the cold, I don't know, I think it just brings out the worst side of people and the craziness of the world. I had a really weird McDonald's experience, and I think it's all because of the cold and people acting weird. I don't know. There's just like lots happening.
It's like
and
the
I think
butterfly effect of the cold.
It's just, it's too much. The cold is too much.
It really is.
I do like, actually, like, I know we all talk about seasonal depression, but there is actually like a genuine diagnosis, which I didn't learn until like I was diagnosed with it. Like, they were like seasonal affect disorder, and I was like, oh, that's a fancy way, which is sad. Seasonal affect disorder it spells out sad.
How perfect.
Which makes me sad that I was diagnosed with sad. That's crazy. But I didn't realize it was something like, you know, I'd be like, oh, joy is a 60-degree day. But then I realized it, like, genuinely, my brain is like, you're unhappy until it's 60, deal with it. So now I'm, like, actually having to think of how to take care of myself in the cold.
Right. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I have a this is related, but maybe this is a little broader. But I'm curious your thoughts on it. It just came to my brain now.
Okay.
You know how, like, there have been recent reports or, like, studies of, like, this being the most this like year, or I don't know this year, but like this season being like people are experiencing depression more than ever before, you know, like people have been talking about that a lot. Do you think that that's like completely accurate, or do you think part of that has to do with like what is the word I'm thinking of, like destigmatizing getting like therapy, that or like, or, you know, like people actually
that's my
about that
thought
stuff?
Is like I just think we've all been depressed for a long time.
Right.
I don't know,
We're
man.
just a bunch of sad,
I just like
sad kids.
And I think that it is like a destigmatization thing happening, but I also do think like on the flip side, because we've destigmatized, a lot of people are just like thinking they are depressed because they're experiencing like a sadness of some kind, and it's not depression, but we're calling it that. And so I just feel like all of it gets really like muddied because it's like genuine, like of course people have depression, of course, I'm not doubting that. And I do think it's great that like now people are willing to talk about it. Like I'm even like, you know, like seeing my parents talk about mental health, and they grew up in a place that was like, you don't talk, your brain is just for school, right? It's nothing else. Like do your math homework and go work on the farm, please. And so I mean, I think we're finally in a place where like even older generations are able to say like, yeah, I'm unwell, which is great. But I do think part of that is also coming with people then being like, I'm just depressed. It's like girly pop and cute. And it's like, it's not cute when I don't brush my hair for a whole week.
It's like the two extremes of the spectrum of people who ascribe to like, you know, acknowledging mental health and all of that is either I'm saying this are two extremes. Either it's the girly pop like therapy dude, blah, 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 or the other extreme is like also gross, which is like the I don't even know how to describe it, but when these, it's not just bros, but when people like throw around terminology in a way that's like very demeaning and like not the point of like it's like all the people that go to therapy that they're like jerks and they like lord that over people. I feel like it's interesting to see that we're kind of like in that like era of like, okay, let's define terms and let's not dehumanize people just because you don't get a pass just because you go to therapy.
It is wild because I do see like those two sides argue a lot online where it's like somebody will make a post that's like, I thought this was a normal habit and then I found out that I have this thing. Like I have ADHD. And then there are people in the comments being like, oh my gosh, I think I have ADHD based on this one symptom. And then there's the other people in the comments that are like, shut up, you don't know anything. You don't have a diagnosis. I have one and I sought help for it and you don't know. And it's
you don't
like,
deserve this.
It's like, whoa, you're both wrong.
It's crazy.
Please stop talking.
It's so interesting.
But I think, I mean, I definitely could see it being like, I do think more people probably are depressed nowadays because it's just like, I think there's less connectedness and like
there's so many like contributing factors.
So many. And it's not all to blame on social media or phones either. That drives me insane.
Such a scapegoat.
People are like, just put your phone down. And it's like, okay, and then what? I'm still sad.
People were also isolating themselves before like this, like, just in different ways.
Put your phone down and it's like, okay, now I'm depressed and I can't play my Gardenscapes game. Great. Now what? But
I feel that way too. I feel like we talked about this in a past episode, but like when people like I get it because I can also be this way sometimes, but like when people isolate themselves and just read and they like never interact with the outside world, listen, I think there is some there's some joy that's like gleaned from that, but it's not a complete, like, you're still isolating yourself and you need people.
And in those cases it's like, and you're doing the thing that the world is like, you should read.
Right, exactly. Like, it's just an acceptable like isolating thing.
So I think there's a lot of factors. And also I think it's cold.
Also
that's a factor.
That's a good segue back into seasonal depression.
But no, for real, like I mean, I felt it for sure this winter. It's like so cold and I'm like, I like struggle getting out of bed. I've had to start wearing socks to sleep, which is a crime in my eyes.
I hate that.
I do not ever want to wear socks in bed, but it's the only way I can sleep.
Right.
Or get out of bed because
your
then
toes are bricks.
And then finally my feet get warm and then I'm like, I'm never leaving bed. I don't have to work. Who cares about work? It's too cold.
It's the combo of like the cold and obviously with that is the dark because like the sun doesn't rise as early and sets earlier. Because I think that makes it harder to get out of bed in the mornings. Is like I feel like I have such a good flow. I mean, and maybe this year is different with pregnancy and stuff, but generally speaking, I have a pretty good flow when it's, it gets brighter faster and or at least like it's a little bit warmer. But that combo of like it's so dark and like I know once I lift the blanket, like I'm gonna get a draft underneath. It's the worst feeling. You're like, it's so demoralizing to get started.
It is. It's terrible.
So I feel like I had to give myself grace to like, okay, this is just my winter routine and that's okay. I'll just like work around it, I think it sucks to leave when it's dark outside and it sucks to also be home when it's dark outside. I don't know, there's no solution, but I think that getting rid of daylight savings probably is part of it. I want to be on summer daylight savings all the time. Yes, please. That'd be nice.
But I think Nick and I definitely started noticing, like, he was literally like, it is hard for me to go to work, like I'm like struggling. And so then that's what kind of drove us to be like, let's get in the gym. Let's start eating better. Let's start move around, doing more. Because right now it was like we come home and then we eat terrible food and we watch some reality show and then we sit and play video games for hours and it's already dark and who cares? Right. And it's so bad. So bad.
Like we need to break the cycle.
For real.
It's so hard to do like in the winter for real. Like, and I think, so my experience with seasonal depression my first encounter, I guess, with it was like when I moved to the States from Guam, because before that, so Guam, because it's so close to the equator, honestly, like with the like variance of like maybe 30 minutes, depending on the time of year. It essentially always the sun rises around 6 a.m. and then it always sets around 6 p.m. Like I said, with like a little bit of variance, but not very much, especially compared to here. And so on that side, like I didn't have the stigma before of like, oh, when it's dark out, it's also like colder out.
Yeah.
And so I was used to like, you know, night, even in the dark, like it's still fun and enjoyable, and you just like, it's just like nighttime stuff, like fun stuff to do. And you have like that whole night compared to like in the summers here where it's like, oh, sun doesn't set till like 9 or something. So that was different for me, but like I didn't realize how even though Guam is hotter, the like lack of variance in temperature, like it does, you know, rain or not rain or whatever, but like with that really being the only thing that changes for the most part, I did not realize like how reliant my body and other people's bodies are, and like not just bodies, like psychologically, all of that is when everything is like pretty moderate in the sense that like it doesn't fluctuate that much. And so then moving from Guam to Northeast Wisconsin was crazy, because first of all, like definitely winter starts earlier there because it just gets cold so fast. But like because everything, you know, I was there for school, like just seeing the contrast of like when a semester starts to when it ends. Like for fall semester, the first part of the semester, like everyone's like having a grand old time, but then as soon as it starts getting colder, people are like, okay. But definitely coming back from like Christmas break into the dead of winter, and then like just trying to make it to the vague like unreal season that is spring up there, because it's like not I feel like it's not even spring until it's like May, if that. Was so crazy. Like I remember I think this is like my second year there, coming back to campus after spending Christmas break in California. Literally, so someone had like become the like student like not activities director, but like something like fun for students, like student life or something like that. And he was like not from there, and you know, innocently was like, oh, let's do like a snowman or like a snow building like contest in the Northeast in January. It was so cold, they were like using a hose to get the snow to break down a little bit because everything was just ice. Like it was just all ice. And I was like, you guys I felt bad because I was like on student council. I was like, I'm not participating in this. I'm going to my room. It is so cold. Are you kidding me? Like it was, and he was just trying so hard to like, you know, like make a good time out of something like rough, but it was like, no, let's just be inside. Like this is ridiculous. There's just no way. I'm gonna get frostbite.
Oh my god.
But it was just crazy just seeing like how different mannerism wise, like collectively people were from like the beginning of the spring semester, so during the dead of winter, into when it was above 0 degrees. People were like, oh my gosh, like I feel a lot better.
Above zero is crazy.
You could tell like it would get to like -20.
The fog has lifted.
Yeah, the fog has lifted. Like people would start wearing like short sleeve shirts because you're just like, wow. And it would like be sunnier, like because like of course like under negative or like below 0 it was like always darker and like overcast, at least like at best overcast. So actually like seeing sun and blue skies was like, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Like this weather right now, they'd be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
No thank you. I bet therapists are rolling in it.
Probably.
I remember growing up, I always told my dad, because I was studying psychology, I was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna move to the Pacific Northwest because it's raining all the time and it's dreary and people are sad and they need therapy, and I'm gonna be their therapist. There you go.
You're like, I got you.
I'm gonna solve the problem.
I was thinking, that just reminded me, just this morning or yesterday, I was like, you know, I think in another life, like I would have like started to be a therapist. I think that would have been very enjoyable for me, and I would like love to do like, there's like a subculture category of therapists that are like culture sensitive, and especially like for me, like just Pacific Islander, or there's more communal culture sensitive. But I was thinking, I was like, imagine I like set up practice here, like who's coming to me, like 2 people. Like a faith-based therapist, a faith-based therapist that understands like culture nuance and not everything is like through a Western lens. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't do so well. Maybe I'm okay in this timeline. I'll just have fun doing the conversations about
it. Yeah, we'll pretend we're there.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always thought of, like, I obviously had the thought that I would be a therapist, and then when I became an adult, I was like a true adult, like in, you know, later, like early 20s and mid 20s. I was like, I can barely handle my own problems. I don't want to listen to anybody else's. I can't deal with the baggage.
It's too much.
Yeah, so I'll stay where I am in that regard. I'll stay in my lane. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, we kind of like went all over the place.
We did.
I mean, seasonal depression is
it does that to you.
Messes your brain up.
I can't wait for it to be a little bit warmer. I think.
Me too.
I think it'll just be. Everyone will just do so much better. I know Luke really struggles. I feel like I do, to an extent, struggle with seasonal depression, but honestly, not that bad. I feel like I'm pretty like even keeled most of the year. But Luke for sure does. Like, it's just really hard for him. Yeah. And like, he also lived on Guam for, I don't know if our listeners knew that, but like he grew up on Guam for a lot of his life, and it just has still been a struggle. Like I think what made it harder too is, I think it's like a weird psychological effect where we moved here from, you know, east Wisconsin, and I think in our mind was like, we thought because we were moving south, we were like getting away from winter, and I feel like it made us even like more sensitive to the cold. Where like we know, like obviously, like I know that we've like dealt with way worse than here, but it feels worse because we're just like, I thought we left this behind.
Was my freedom. This was my chance at freedom.
Exactly.
And no, if anything, I feel like Kentucky and like southern Indiana is like one of the most inconsistent places.
So inconsistent
for weather.
Yeah,
like we were talking about Louder Than Life earlier, and I'm in like Facebook groups for it, and my favorite is people from like way away from here. They're like, what's Kentucky weather like in September?
You tell me.
It's like, I don't know, man. We'll find out that day. Right. So a lot of people just comment yes because it's all of it. Like, it was like freezing cold. It rained so hard that there was mud everywhere, and then it was kind of warm one day, and then the wind was going to take the stages down the next.
Right,
and it's like, I don't know. The year before, like
hour to hour.
The year before, I was sweating in a tank top and shorts. Right. I'm like trying to plan outfits, and I'm like, I probably won't know until the week of.
Right, absolutely. It's crazy, like when you like look at weather apps or whatever, and it's like predicting the next 10 days or whatever it is. Like, it is insane how much it changes from like, not even day to day, like hour to hour sometimes. Yes. You're like, that did not look the same way like when I checked it this morning.
It's like a daily occasion where I'm like, I could have swore it was supposed to be like 50 degrees today. Right. And then I check and it's like, it'll say like high 50, and then you scroll through the hours and it never reaches 50. Right. It's like 40. And I'm like, that's not the same.
I should have taken a screenshot of like, not this past week, but the week before. It was literally snowing, and I'm looking at the weather app and it says clear, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that summarizes what living here is like. Right. You never know. Yeah, I'll get like memories on my like time hop or whatever, and it'll be like, you know, like it's like March, and I'll get a memory that's like me walking through snow on campus, and I'm like, what? Why? It's March, April.
There's no reason.
There was snow on Easter one year. I remember like growing up. Like I was like, it's Easter. That's so like crazy. The whole thing. He's risen. It's spring.
Yeah.
There are tulips and bunnies. Yeah. And
give me my tulips.
Give me the tulips. Get rid of the snow.
The snow is hiding the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Man. Anyways, we could talk about it forever.
I think so, but we won't. We'll move on. Our next thing that we wanted to do, which was Asia's idea, was things that we've warmed up to. So in the spirit of hoping and praying that it's warm soon and that we get a 60-degree day, we're going from what we were cold to, it was frigid in December, January, February, March still, and then we're warm to this thing. So it can be anything. Yeah. So we're just going to go back and forth and we'll talk about things we warmed up to.
Yeah. I can start. Okay. So I mentioned this, I think, a couple weeks ago, maybe, but one of my friends from church, we do like these buddy reads. And so basically we just like take turns picking a book, and go read and just discuss. So it's kind of like a book club, but for picky people, I guess. I've also decided, I think I have book clubs are great for so many people, but I feel like I'm just too picky to be in them because I just feel like picky and people pleasy. It's just too much.
I haven't done a book club since 5th grade. If that tells you anything about my feelings towards them.
They just like, unless everyone has the same taste, or everyone is extremely comfortable with each other, like they're already like a bestie friend group. I feel like it's a hard vibe because it's like I feel guilty if I like don't want to take part in that month. And so I just avoid them typically. So this has been a good compromise because like it is fun to like read someone else's like taste, but it's just like the two of you and you can like discuss and we always pick books that we've never read before, so it fees like less like high stakes. It's not like, oh, here, read my favorite book ever.
Love this book, read it.
Exactly. So anyways, so my taste, I've talked about this in the past, like is very like magical realism, like things that are pretty grounded, or maybe sometimes like some fantasy, but like that tends to be like the space I like to occupy when it comes to reading. But my friend is super into horror novels, and when we were getting to know each other before we actually technically like officially started doing the buddy reads, I would just like she would just lend me books to read because I was like, I'm getting back into reading, blah blah blah. And I've come to appreciate horror novels. Before I was like, no thank you, but I think it was very helpful, like the fact that she's really into them and she was able to give like some like perspective. It helped me appreciate them because before I used to be like, I don't like care about like gore and jump scares and whatever, but she'd help me appreciate this because like really, and one day this will transfer to movies, I'm sure. I do enjoy more horror movies than Luke does for sure, but it's still not my favorite. But it helped me appreciate like basically the point of horror as a genre, if it's done well, I should say. I'm sure they're like just slasher stuff that is like just for the sake of it being scary, but it's supposed to like highlight like humanity and like what is more human than like being afraid. And so it like typically like highlights like what are things that people fear and why, like what does that say about ourselves and about like society. And when it's well done, like it's actually like an interesting like social narrative. And so I have come to enjoy that, where before I used to be like, no thank you, no thank you.
Wow. I also am not big on horror. I think I've read a couple. I do like a thriller, so it's kind of sort of getting like there. Yeah, I like the mystery thriller side of it, but the actual like gore horror part of it is, something.
I remember reading a book that she recommended, or that she like lent to me, and people were like commenting because I posted it on Instagram. It was like, it's called The Devil's Aspect, and they're like, bro, what you got going on over there?
What is this?
I know.
Hey, so
I was like, my friend from church let me read this. And it was like right after I read Yellowface, and they're just like, what are you doing? What are you doing over here?
Yeah. Okay, one of mine, sort of similar, it's like into the media aspect, which, okay, let me first preface by saying I'm a certified hater through and through. I am very, very open about what I hate.
You're emboldened by your hate.
I am emboldened by my hate. Never a hater towards like, I'm not like a hardcore hater to people that I meet in person, like real life. Like, I'm not a hater in that way. I'm not gonna like judge you for what you enjoy doing. Not gonna yuck your yum. But I'm a hater of many things, and I'm picky, and not with most things, but like media. I'm very picky. It's mostly voices. Like,
that's fair.
Voices are I'm picky with, but with music specifically, I feel like in the last year or two, maybe, I've warmed up to 2 different genres, which I never like. I legitimately made fun of people for liking these types of music in middle and high school, and that's like, I don't really know the best way to describe it, but like Hot Topic emo.
Okay. Yeah.
So like when I was in high school, I was pop punk, like more like even into like hardcore metalcore band vibe, like post hardcore, all of that. Loved that stuff. Love like an angry bad singer.
Yeah.
But like Hot Topic emo is normally like the nasally, I don't know, like the bangs across the face vibe.
Yeah.
That's the Hot Topic emo. And I hated that music. But then Nick is like die hard into Hot Topic emo music.
Right.
And so we went to a show like a couple years ago with a couple of the bands, and I was like, wait a minute, I kind of went hard. And so I posted a public apology. I did. I posted on my Snapchat story.
That's so humble of you.
I posted, I am so sorry to anyone I ever made fun of for liking these bands specifically. And it was like Black Veil Brides. Actually, I stand by that one. They're not good. Motionless in White and like Ice Nine Kills. And some other ones. And I was like, I am so sorry if I ever made fun of you for liking these.
She's growing.
I have changed. I experienced them live and I love it. And I had so many people swipe up and they were like, thank you.
That's amazing. You helped heal the world that day.
I healed them. You're welcome, you know?
That's so good.
But yeah, so that's one of them. And I'm actually like super excited. We're going to be seeing one of them at Louder Than Life. So,
Yay.
And then the other end, kind of opposite end of the spectrum, country music.
Okay.
Not at all pop country music. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But like it was kind of a Noah Kahn to country folk pipeline. Okay. I think. And so like I grew up listening to country music so much that I was sick of it.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Like overexposed
and it was
to it.
So dumb.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to Noah Kahn, who's very like folksy pop. And so then that got me, you know, deeper and deeper and deeper. And so now I'm like, you know, like a Tyler Childers, a Sierra Farrell. I eat those up now. I'm like, they get me.
You're like, you know what, actually, they speak to my experience.
They speak to my childhood.
They are me.
So I'm warming up to various kinds of music, but I still have my favorites, of course. But like, then there are always going to be some that I cannot get behind. But those two specifically are ones that I was like always hated. And in the last few years, I've changed.
I like that. Okay, I have one that might shock you.
Okay.
It's something that I like used to be all about, and then for a while I was like no, and now I'm back. Okay. So wearing colorful clothing used to not be for me.
Whoa.
So like growing up, obviously I did.
Yeah.
Like through high school or whatever. But like during college or like right after college, I was like, that's so juvenile. Like I'm refined. Who am I? Yeah. And I was like, you know what? This is good. You rock it all the time. But in the moment I was like, you know what? I just need to like be more subtle. Like I need to just do black and maybe like some like fun like I can still make it cool, because I was like all about still like it being unique, and I didn't want to be like basic, but I was like I could do that through like subtle like textures of black and like little pops of color, but I don't need to like wear so much color all the time. I don't need to wear purple or like green pants or something, whatever. So like for like our early married life through probably up until we like moved to New Albany.
Whoa.
I was like on a kick where I was like only getting black and like denim. Like that's all I would wear is like black and denim, and just like do variations of that, which I always was like into the same like silhouettes that I've been into. But I was like, yeah, like I can express myself like through texture and whatever. I was like, oh, so
I extra. Love that you had your like goth emo teenage phase, but as like a grown woman, you were like, you don't understand
me. You don't get it. And so like that was like my thing. And then I think it was like it was like around, I can't remember if it was like exactly when we moved to New Albany, or like around like maybe it was like pandemic time. I was just kind of like rediscovering. I was like, who am I kidding? Like I am who I am. Like just because I like wearing pink and stuff doesn't make me like 5, you know? Yeah. So I've like come full circle where I'm like I can enjoy all the things that I enjoyed wearing in middle school and high school, but like in a more age appropriate way. Yeah. Without just being like, I'm just wearing black all the time. So
that's so funny. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll end up a colorful girly. That'll be my big switch up.
You're like, actually, I'm only gonna wear red all the time.
Actually, black is so juvenile, and I just look like a Hot Topic emo kid, and it's time to change.
Never change.
That's wild. My second thing is another media thing. I have warmed up, and I'm not gonna say fully, but I've warmed up to really dumb comedy in shows and movies and like stand up. I think so.
Is that like Nick rubbing off on you?
It's totally Nick. Yeah, because like I was so hardcore a hater. Like he tried when we were like early marriage, he tried to get me to watch What We Do in the Shadows, and I was like, I didn't laugh. Like I literally was like, grumpy. This is so stupid.
I'm above this.
And he was like, no, it's funny. Watch it. And I was like watching, and I was like, like blank face, not laughing. And it was like I genuinely just didn't find it funny.
Yeah,
like,
right.
And I think that like Nick is more of a playful and goofy person, which has made me appreciate playful and goofy, whereas before I was like, that's so like so dumb.
It's like last week when we're trying to find weird things about us, and you're like, I was telling Nick he's weird.
And Nick was like, you don't do weird things because you just tell me to stop doing weird things. I'm trying to work on it. I am.
You're doing great.
But yeah, so I'm like more like he got me to watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I think is like one of the dumbest shows I've ever watched. Like we would be watching episodes and I was like, make it stop. Like it's funny, but I like before we watched it, he sent me a compilation of funny moments, and I didn't laugh the whole compilation because I was like, I don't understand. He's like, you're not supposed to, and I was like, but how will I understand the show if I don't understand the comedy? And he's like, it'll be fine. We should watch it. So I'm warming up there. I can like deal with some of the stand up and like I do still have trouble. I don't know. I think I'm just not much of a comedy girly.
Yeah,
like
that's okay.
SNL, I think in recent years has flopped.
I kind of agree with that. There's some gems, like some skits, but
Nick will like send me SNL clips, and I'm like, I don't get it. I feel like the old men that sit
like
in
improv
Muppets
style,
in
like humor.
Yeah.
I feel that.
But yeah, I'm just like Walter and what's his name? They sit in the box in the Muppets.
That's like, you in the conversation. I'm still not warmed up to Muppets. I'm like, I don't get it. They're just puppets.
We gotta work on that. Yeah. I'm gonna go get my heater and start defrosting you to Muppets. They're so good.
I believe that's your experience.
That's valid for you, but not for me.
It's valid. Is it accurate? I don't know. Is it valid?
But yeah, so dumb comedy, I'm warming up to it somewhat. I can't do, there's like dumb comedy and then there's like really raunchy, like explicit dumb comedy, and I'm like, that is gross. It like makes me feel icky.
Yeah, I feel you. Like I feel like we talked about this before, maybe not on the podcast, but like I tend to like not love there's some exceptions to this, but generally speaking, I don't like love like slapstick, like in your face comedy. I really like a lot of comedic actors when they're acting in comedies. I'm just like not really a huge fan of. I'm just like, it just feels like you're overdoing it. But I love those actors in like more serious roles, because they or serious or surreal type roles, because I feel like they bring their comedic like senses to that character, and I really like it. It's like very subtle and like, oh, that's like really smart, like comedy. But yeah, I tend to be the same way. Like
I used to love Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
And I think as I've grown up, I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
like why are you acting like that? You're grown.
Yeah. No.
He like plays Deadpool in everything.
Yes.
And that's absolutely all. And in person, like in real life.
Yeah.
That's just who he is.
Did you watch the what is it called?
Probably not.
It's it's an interview. No, it's an interview.
Okay.
I forget. Is it Vanity Fair where they did the like actor on actor, or I forget what it's called, but like where they have two actors just like talking to each other, like that's the interview. And so it was him. Oh, now I can't remember. Oh, it was him and Andrew Garfield, just like, you know, you're just like recounting your experiences as an actor, and I was like, I was like trying not to get the ick because like Andrew's like so cutely like you know laughing at his jokes or whatever, but like Andrew's like actually giving like profound like this like hard experience happened with him and his mom and or you know like just like all these things and Ryan Reynolds is like just cracking jokes and I was
farts
like
and
and I'm like you guys
whatever.
are like not on the same level. Like I get like people are there's a variety of different kinds of actors and I would say they're like really like excellent comedic actors as well that like deserve that like kind of platform, but that was such a weird one to me because I was like oh my gosh,
no,
like this just feels like a aviation gin ad.
Man,
but okay, the last one I have is a little bit more serious or like less just about movies and stuff, but I actually realized this when I was talking to my brother because I was giving like it's not a hot take but like something I always say, and then as I was saying I was like actually I don't even know if I feel this way anymore, and I had to like correct. So before I used to be very this is like more like church related. I used to be very like what's the word, like probably like at the most honest is just not gracious, but I used to be very like hard on people who spent like so much of their time in church when I know that they don't care. And I'd be like, just like don't be here, like you don't have to be here. And I used to be like really like on that, and I think that came from like growing up at a you know in the church and like like you know there's different people that would come to church that I grew up with that I was like I'm about this, but like I don't think you don't have to be here if you don't want to be here. And like that was kind of like always my vibe when it came to that. I'm like and I had like a lot of friends that I went to a Christian school who like they were like they found like this weird security and compartmentalization. They would like be a certain way outside of school and church, but like not want to bring that side of themselves to the church. And I just in my mind I was like then just don't come, like there's no one's forcing you to be here. And I was saying that to Jacob, I forget what the context was. This is probably like a couple months ago, and I was like you know what, I don't think I feel that way anymore. Like I think like there's like a lot to be said about like maybe you're not into it, but like the community aspect of like you're still with people who like love you and care about you like regardless of like how you feel about what's going on. And I think there's nuance to that of course, but and like I'm sure some of those people they feel like there is no choice for them, like they have to be there. And like what a great opportunity to care for and love like people like in that position. And so I don't know, it's just like interesting because I just remember like really feeling strongly about that all like growing up all through like college I'm sure and maybe like through the beginning of our marriage, but that like I feel like has totally shifted, which is kind of crazy.
I think you're right, like it's like the way you grow up and like the church, growing up in the church, because I also grew up in this like whole like ownership of faith, like you have to own your faith, and it's like why go to church if you're not owning your faith and doing it for you? And it's like you know, it's like it's funny for me to say that because I'm like half the time I went to church because my dad was the pastor and I just had to be at church. And so like you know it wasn't until I was an adult and found a church that did love me and treat me well that I was like, oh, I
want to be here,
this is what I actually do. I'm doing this not because I have to but because I want to. And so like it's a hard balance of like obviously you shouldn't go to church just for the fun pieces or just for that, but like if that's what gets you there to hear the gospel and hear the message, then like sure, keep coming. But it is this whole thing of like it's frustrating, and I think especially when it's like I know you were like rule follower as like a kid, and so it's like when it's like I did the thing, I show up at church for the thing, and I'm owning my faith and I'm doing this thing, and you're not following the rules. Like,
and I think what was like hard for me too was like I genuinely love those people that like were that way, and for me I just felt like why are you exhausting yourself like putting this mask on for everyone, like just like don't be here. But I just didn't, I don't know, I feel like I like really what is the word, like I just like minimize like the tension that I'm sure a lot of people that are in that position feel, and like the nuance of situations that people feel for the sake of like you're being fake here, like just don't be here for this.
I get it.
Crazy.
Mine is, I think, so I feel like in the last few months, maybe, I was going to say longer, but I feel like more so in the last few months, I have warmed up to being vulnerable.
You have.
Thanks for validating me in that. I grew up just like, I mean, I've talked about it just a little bit. I grew up with a very mentally unwell brother. And that meant that like a lot of difficult things and conversations and attention went to him and not to me or my sister or whatever. And so it kind of was one of those things like where, of course, I knew my parents loved me, still love me. I knew they cared for me and still do. But it was one of those things of like, I just am not going to bother them with how I feel because they've got way more going on.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I mean, that happens in a lot of families, whether it's like mentally unwell or like a physical disability or just a kid that requires more behavior attention. Like other kids require less attention than others. And so, so I think that's kind of where it started. And then I just kind of lived my life of like, I'll just only give information when I have to. Yeah. like I'll talk all day long about things that I like to do or fun things on TV, but like you don't really like thinking of friends. It's like, you don't need to know that I'm upset about something. So it's fine. We'll just move past it. So yeah, it's just like from there on through relationships and everything. And so that's been like a very difficult thing. I've always had like this wall up of like, I'm only going to provide the information you have to have.
Which then becomes like subconscious. Like you're not even actively
I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just like skipping past it automatically of like, they don't care and I don't care to share. It's fine. And then I went to therapy a few years ago after a really difficult breakup where like I put walls immediately back up even higher because of this person breaking my trust. And so I went to therapy and I like told her, I was like, yeah, I just had this really bad breakup. We were together for like 5 years. He cheated on me. And so I thought like therapy was like, had to do it. It's the next step. And she was like, okay, tell me how you're feeling. And I was like, I think I'm fine. And she was like, you struggle with vulnerability. And I was like, no, I don't. And then I got in the car and I cried all the way home.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like, I do struggle with vulnerability.
But it clocked me so fast.
She got me good. She got me good. And so, yeah, I think in that moment I realized it. I hadn't ever had the words for it. And then it wasn't in that moment that I was like, okay, time to be vulnerable.
Right.
And there wasn't that moment where I like, from then on, I would start to try to share something. And then afterwards, I'd be like, why did I say that? Like replaying it in my head of like, what is wrong? You overshared. They don't care to hear that. They don't want to know how you're feeling.
Think I'm trauma dumping.
You're trauma dumping. Yeah, that whole thing. And so for like years after, like my breakup was like 2019. For a few years after that, I still didn't care to be vulnerable with anybody. And then I think like, it probably wasn't really until we started young adult group where I was like, okay, like these are like, because also there's the side of like church and church trauma where it's like you've trusted people to tell them things and then it's either like judged very harshly or they're not actually being real with you, so like you're like, let me level to where what they're giving. So I'm not gonna tell you everything, but I'll tell you a little bit of my struggle. And so that's just kind of like I would come to church and be like, yeah, you know, like I'm struggling with like not having control of my life or like, you know, whatever. But like I wouldn't tell them about like a struggle with something real like alcohol or sex or whatever. And so like that's just kind of how I coasted. And then we started our group and like people were real and genuine and like we became friends. And it's like, oh wait, like I can tell things and people want to hear things. Like there was one point, because we have a group chat with us two and Eva, and I don't remember what it was, but at some point you and Eva were both like, Faith, why don't you tell us these things? Like, why did I just find out about this that happened 2 weeks ago? Like, why didn't you say anything? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. There are times I'll type up a message and I'm like, nah, that's too much. And so, yeah. So I think in the last few months, I will give myself that like, I've actually been like, I'm going to tell my friends because it was the urge to tell them. And it's fine.
I've noticed
they
that.
just want to hear that that's happening for me. So it's hard.
There's no value judgment
for my on it. It's just vulnerability struggling girlies out there. It's hard. Yeah,
you're doing it.
I'm doing it. I'm healing. I'm healing.
She's healing. Just like the weather's healing slowly.
Yeah, just like the weather. One day it'll be warm.
I know.
And I'll be vulnerable.
Both things will happen. I like that though. That's so good. It is cool to see how you've like slowly, I mean all of us, but like you have slowly over the course of since we started group have become more vulnerable. And also just like not even just like being vulnerable, you're also adding to the sense of security for others to feel vulnerable, which has been really cool too.
Thanks.
So,
yeah. If you want to hear more about our lives and our vulnerability or things we're healing, you should listen to our Enneagram episode.
You should.
That episode is full of our lore.
I love how you're gonna say that because I was literally gonna be like, oh, we could do a trauma dump episode.
We should do a trauma dump episode. Do you guys want us to trauma dump? I'll tell you all about my brother.
dude.
And my failed engagement. I'll tell all about it. That's a teaser.
We should
just a little tease.
Unhinged.
I do remember, just to give more reason for that episode, I remember thinking about going to therapy, like when I was going to therapy, and I went for like a couple weeks and then I quit.
Yeah.
Because I am like self-aware in a way that it makes it hard for me to go to therapy. But anyways, I remember feeling the daunting task of trying to explain anything in my life to my therapist. like
nothing is like, you know how it is.
When I went for my ADHD evaluation, he was like, do you have any trauma from childhood? And I was like, no. And then I was like, oh wait, my brother stabbed me with a fork one time. And he was like, what?
You know,
it's like just a brother thing.
Sibling, yeah. Oh, we gotta make this episode happen.
A lore drop.
Yeah.
Coming soon, maybe. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
If I don't want to trauma dump on you guys out of nowhere, but if
like my one was a hot take. You gotta do it with consent. So if you guys consent to us. Trauma dumping.
Consent in the comments, please. Consent in the comments. Speaking of comments, make sure you rate, review, subscribe. Click the 5 stars.
Please.
Subscribe on YouTube, on Spotify. You can follow us. We're on literally every platform. I'm not kidding.
Everything.
Like Blue Sky, Threads. Not on X anymore because...
No, we don't need it. Yeah, no.
Instagram, TikTok. I don't know. Everything. We're everywhere.
Yeah. We'll find
everything everywhere all at once. That's us right now with this podcast. So yeah, make sure you do all of those things.
Yes. And your Delulu to Dulu for today is, girl, you know how like you're looking through your closet and you're like, oh yeah, I have this piece that I got forever ago that I haven't worn. I'm waiting for the special occasion to do it. The occasion is now, girl. Life is too short. You just need to wear it. Like, I don't care. It's a ball gown. It's whatever. Like, when are you going to have the opportunity to wear that? You know, just make your own opportunities. Like, the world is yours to slay in. You create your occasions. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Like, this is all on you and for you. So please, like, what is it's just sitting in your closet being sad that it's not being worn, and you picked it. So like, you need to express yourself through that beautiful article of clothing that I know you've been wanting to wear and you've just been waiting for the occasion. So
did this stem from my conversation about my affliction tee?
No, but I was
feeling called out. No. I just told Asia about how I have a t-shirt that I bought weeks ago and I haven't worn it because I just want to wear it at the right time.
Yeah, this is to you too. I think that was unintentional because I was thinking about this morning when I was like getting ready. I was like,
that's crazy that we've led to here. That's wild.
No, it's so good. Anyways, I'm Asia the girl,
and I'm Faith. Okay.
See you next time, besties.
Bye.
Bye. About your shirt. I'm just calling you out right now. This This is just a trauma dumping, calling out.
Always feel like a call out for me.
Like the laundry one.